Are you back? Are you here? Are you
Oh yeah,
joining me? But you're me.
gotta do the flip.
You
Gotta
can't
do
be
the
me.
flip.
You gotta
You
be
gotta
Paul.
put you in the driver's seat.
What's up, Bills Mafia and Hashtag Nation? Welcome to the Hashtag Sports presentation of the Buffalo Bills versus the Las Vegas Raiders post game. A game that the Bills won handily, 38-10, and just smacked the Raiders up and down the field all day.
No,
Which is
no,
what you
nope, I wouldn't say all day, brother. That was a scary 6 minutes. That first quarter, first
oh
6 minutes of that game were
7-0.
scary.
The 7
Yep.
nothing.
Yeah, touchdown, punt, interception. Scare. The first 7 minutes, the 6 minutes of that game were scary stuff.
These are one of the games where the stat monsters just really come out because the Buffalo Bills skewed a lot of things as far as
Yeah.
time of possession, plays ran, passes, and it skews the other way for the Raiders. You know what I mean?
Right.
The Raiders had 3 possessions in the second half. 2 of them were turnovers.
Isn't that funny?
It's so great to be
Yeah,
talking
it's. I
about
mean,
this.
how can you win a football game when you run 5, 9, 13 plays in the second half of the game? The Raiders ran 13 plays in the second half. Yeah, how can you win a football game like that?
I did.
You can't. That is not possible to win a football game on 13 plays and a half. There's no way.
The Bills, Paul, they ran 13 plays in the second half. The Bills scored 17 points in the second half.
Good times.
What the hell?
Yeah, and the chat is already lighting up. We'll go to Big Tim. Said Rousseau had one hell of a first half. He absolutely did. Hey, what's up, B Lightning? Garn talks about 29 first downs, a much better week on offense. 100% true.
100.
Third down percentages again for Buffalo. When you take a look at the game, third down percentages 7 of 13. Again, that's good enough, right? Like if you're gonna, especially if you're in a fourth and short situation, like. That's batting over 500, right? Like that, I guess that's good enough. And then finally, B Lightning said Cook looked great. Yeah. I think this was the first game where you saw, the offense be allowed to be careful but successful. And after that first drive from the Raiders, like they put together a great script against Buffalo. They knew Buffalo was going to sell out against Josh Jacobs. They knew that they were just going to be solely focused on the run. The Raiders took advantage of that on that first drive. But after that, eventually you got to go back to the run if you're Las Vegas, and Buffalo just had an answer for everything that they did.
I think Daquan Jones had a very underrated game today.
Yeah.
Especially in the run game.
I agree with that.
He allowed everyone else to kind of eat in there, especially Bernard, who had a rough week 1, as we talked about. But I mean, you hold Las Vegas to 240 total yards, 75 on their first possession, and then that's it for the rest of the game. You're done. You're done. You can pack it in. You're finished.
Bonds Goat has the chat. There's the chat MVP of the day already. Josh Jacobs is a check down merchant. I would never.
Never.
Josh Allen doing his greatest Trent Edwards impression today.
No, he was a successful Trent Edwards. Still trying to jump over people though.
Pre-concussion, Trent Edwards.
Trent might still have one. I don't know. I think he's still got one. But you look at it, it's fun to watch, but it's frustrating as well because you sit there and you go, listen, if he just would have taken that approach against the Jets, it would have worked out. You had the lead for a majority of that game. Take what's given to you. Like you said right before we got on the air, Paul, freaking Raiders were in quarter, half, daring him to go. You're not going to be patient enough to go underneath all day. I think it was like he started the game 13 of 13 for like 50 some yards, or 70 yards. It was very uncharacteristic of what we're used to seeing out of Allen. You complete 31 passes for 274 yards. A couple of them opened up deep at the end of the game there, but he had a very conservative stat line for a majority of the games. Like, just don't turn it over. Right. That's all you got to do. Our defense will hunt and take care of it. But that when you start compiling drives of 8 and 9 minutes long, you're just going to wear that defense out. And that's what they did today.
Oh, without a doubt, and Josh Jacobs going into half, I don't even think had positive rushing yards.
He didn't for the whole game. He didn't.
Yeah.
He finished with -2 rushing yards.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. Well, I knew when I was thinking about how much negative yardage he had during the game, he ran for like 5. And I was like, oh, all right. So he'll get over. He can't Reggie Bush this, right? He's not going to run for negative. He sure did. Sure did. But a couple of interesting things, right? At the game, Bills got introduced as a team instead of introducing the offense and the defense. That's sort of a different look for Buffalo. It's not usual. Normally they introduce the offense and the defense separately. Not today. They rolled everybody all out at once. And again, didn't start well. Damian, just when we started talking all offseason, we're like, why do we pay attention to special teams? Why do we carry special teamers? Special teams don't matter. And then you lose a game in overtime on a punt return. And then Damian Harris gets his oil check back into Sam Martin and on the first Bills possession. And then you're like, oh, well, maybe special teams, maybe that should be a thing. Perhaps we misjudged that. I felt really silly for beating the drum of why do we care about special teams, and then we had, in effectively back-to-back series for the Bills, lose a game in overtime, and then Damian Harris just gets destroyed in punt pro. Like, what the hell? What's going on?
What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? Yeah, like the start of that game, it didn't. It seemed like the interception that was tipped kind of turned the corner for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, you come out in the opening series, you like to think your script is good enough. I mean, that's usually what sets the tone for the entire game. If they have their script of how they're going to move the ball against you, and they do, it's kind of deflating for your defense, and you're sitting there, okay, what's going to happen? And then you go 3 and out. You're like, this is not going to be good. But then, Bills put a 7-play, 28-yard drive together, and then they force a 3 and out. And then they hold the ball literally for 11 plays, 84 yards. I mean, that's where it started to turn the corner.
Yep.
But you start to think about it. There was a little bit of a blend, though. I mean, majority of it was very conservative. A lot of things that Josh Allen was doing. He's like checking it down. He's throwing it to all the guys he threw to were like wide open. I didn't see very many contested catches, except for when he ran out of the pocket. The touchdown to Davis, you're not supposed to throw that. Let's just say it. But that's what having a Josh Allen means. You know what I mean? I think there's probably 25 quarterbacks in the NFL who could have ran that offense today and put up the numbers that Allen did. But there's certain plays in there. There's 1 or 2 that are in there that only Allen can do.
Right.
And that's one of them,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And when you look at the box score across the board, Buffalo did a great job of spreading the ball out last week. Same thing here. Gabe Davis, 7 targets. Stefan Diggs, 7 targets. And the only non-catch, Gabe Davis. He had a non-catch on a target. Other than that, 6 receptions for Gabe Davis, all 7 targets, all 7 receptions for Stefan Diggs. Dalton Kincaid, 6 targets, 5 receptions. James Cook, 4 of 4. Right. It's so again, Buffalo spreading the ball out. We had a Reggie Gilliam sighting. Reggie Gilliam.
I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, we sure did. And Reggie Gilliam, who blocks like Sam Martin tackles on screenplays. Ugh, don't love that. I don't love that.
As soon as he caught the pass in the flat, and I literally wanted to call you immediately because I was going to be like, why is he still on the team? Like, why are we still employing a fullback at this point? What is going on? But you think of it in this respect. Allen was 31 for 37. I think he just threw 4 passes away. Like he just threw him in the dirt when nothing was there.
Yeah.
And which is what some people might not like that. I love it because Josh Allen 2 years ago would have either tried to run on those plays, put his body in harm's way, or he would have tried to force something like he did last week. So it's good to see a 1-week progression like that to be like, listen, I'm not going to force it down the field or whatever. And I felt, even though Diggs had 7 targets, he caught all 7 passes for 66 yards. I think he was a little frustrated today. I think the Raiders frustrated him. Like he was open a couple times and Allen just went to the check down.
Yeah, I think, but this is the type of role that Stefan Diggs needs to play, right? Like if this team is truthfully going to be a possession team, then you need Stefan Diggs to be a possession receiver, right? And that's a transition for him. That hasn't always been the role that he's been in. But if you're going to have Stefan Diggs, get 7 targets and 7 receptions on 7 targets and not break the 100-yard mark, right? Again, not break the 100-yard mark with 7 receptions for Stefan Diggs. You have to just accept the fact that he needs to be that guy on 2nd and 8 catches a 9-yard pass, right? Because you could tell, like even with Dalton Kincaid sat on an out route on what was it, 3rd and 3 or something like that, and came up a yard short. Those are the types of things that You can't depend on Dalton Kincaid just yet. He's a weapon, but he's not a dependable weapon. That just remains to be Stefan Diggs. And when this offense goes through Diggs, that's great, but Diggs doesn't need to be 25 yards down the field to be effective. He could be very effective in this role. And I think that's a process he's going to have to get used to. If this is what they need from him, then he's just going to have to learn to adapt to that. And I understand that might be frustrating for him at some point.
Yeah, he needs to know that certain things like as far as Von Miller on the defensive side is concerned, when Von Miller is going to be on the field, he will naturally open up things for other defenders that will have success because of him. I mean, they showed a stat of him before the game today when they said, "Oh, he felt like he was cleared, or he was cleared," and then the Bills felt, he wasn't really there, condition wise, and they showed his stats. He had 13 seasons. He only has 500 tackles. Does that seem low for a guy that has played 13 years? But his presence naturally just opens up so much for everyone around him. That's what Diggs does. And you started to see it, touchdown by Shakir. Gabe Davis had a pretty good day. Dalton Kincaid and Knox, you started to see all those things open up because of him. And I think the reason why he has that C on his chest is because I think he starts to recognize that. And they like, listen, I'm not going to get, 14 catches for 150 yards every game. And if I'm doing that, we're probably losing.
Right.
So,
yeah. I have to eat a little crow, Mario. I don't know if you caught the halftime show. Joe called the game for us as he always does. Thank you so much for Joe for doing all the hard work on this channel. Because Mario and I, we have called some games together in the past, and we were a few beers deep and a couple slices of pizza down, and we were exhausted afterwards. So I don't know how Joe does it all the time every week, but But on the halftime show, there was a play where the play broke down. Garoppolo kind of bought some time. Devontae Adams was just on a simple curl route, saw that there was nothing there, and just kind of snuck back upfield for a nice gain. And on the halftime show, I was like, I wouldn't expect a player. I expect Diggs to do that. I don't think Buffalo has a receiver that's going to recognize that. And wouldn't you know it, Gabe Davis in the third quarter does exactly that. Josh Allen is running around, and Gabe Davis just kind of looks around and goes, "Oh, there's nobody behind me. Let me just run there." Right? And makes a nice long reception. I think it was his longest reception of the day. Yes. And those are the types of things that your receivers have to help this Bills team out in. But that comes with good route running to get to that position. You have to have good spacing. And I put something on the community tab for those of you that follow us here at Hashtag Sports. If you follow the community tab, I posted a video. Kurt Warner did a great video breakdown of spacing in the Bills offense last week. And he was 100% correct. It's like, listen, Dalton Kincaid, he's running this route 3 yards short because watch the safety pull down and then watch the linebacker react. You got too many players in a short area. Yeah. So, of course, those plays are going to get broken up. And Buffalo today looks like they made some really, really nice adjustments to that.
Absolutely. They did. I mean, there's nothing more frustrating other than calling a timeout when you don't need to is when you see two guys in the same position. Like even the Gabe Davis catch that he had last week against the Jets, like him and Diggs were like in the same spot. Like, why are you both there? Like, who knows? You talk about Jessica talking about our mics. It's
well, and I commented, I was like, doesn't make the content any better. Nope, might sound better. It doesn't make the content any better.
We don't have to say what anymore. Yeah, Spencer Brown going up against Crosby this week was, I mean, a lot of times he was getting chipped by the tight end and the back and stuff like that, which Brown needs that help. Right now he needs that help. But then when he was by himself, he held his ground. You know, he was sitting down back there. He wasn't allowing him to go inside or outside on Allen. Allen did vacate the pocket a couple times. As far as holding call, I don't think there were any holding calls on the Bills today. Were there?
So I'm just going to be honest with you. Spencer Brown was pretty aware of where the hot routes were because he was pretty gracious with the hugs on Max Crosby when he was on the backside of plays. Like, it was just one of those things where he knew where his bread was buttered today. He got away with some stuff.
Well, you should never call those anyway. If there's a run play away from you and you call a hold on the other side, you're just a dick. Like, I'm sorry. You're just
right.
There's no reason to call that.
I will say on the Allen interception, the illegal hands to the face was pretty ticky-tack.
It was. It was. I mean, I thought it was a pick, and I was already ready to go in the post game to defend. That happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're throwing the
Right.
ball late, you know. But overall, do you think that he got into a rhythm today? I mean, we're talking about, I know it's going to sound silly. You guys 31 for 37, but it's not the type of game that, no, but I'm saying it's not the type of game he usually plays.
Yeah.
It's very new.
Yeah.
Like it's you know, like I said, he came out of the gates, I think 11 of 11 for 50 some yards.
Right.
That's not normal Allen.
No.
You know what I
No,
mean?
it's not.
So,
Well, and I mean, you're bolstered by the fact that James Cook had 123 yards on the ground today. Right?
yeah.
Like, how effective in the air do you have to be when your running back's got 7.2 a clip with a long of 36? This wasn't a Breece Hall-esque day.
Well, it was,
he broke an 80-something yard run. He had his long of 36, and he was very effective on the ground. And it seemed like they found the right times to utilize him today.
Yes. And, you know, I think that's a little bit skewed, though. Not that I'm dogging on James Cook.
No.
I don't want to do that. I'm saying, but that 36 came in the fourth. That was in the fourth quarter he ran that 36 yarder. So it was later in the game, but it was mixed in real well. I mean, a lot of those times, how many catches? He had 4 catches today, too. And those are almost like long handoffs. Yep. It was what Allen was doing with them. He's like, okay, you know, he is a playmaker on this offense. We needed one other than Stefan Diggs to step up. And when it can be your running back, that's a very effective tool you can put anywhere on the field. And mixing in the oldest running back in the league, Latavius Murray, mix in Harris. Harris came in and ran really hard. You know what I mean?
Sure did.
You're like, hey, the Bills had 2 rushing touchdowns today. Like, oh, Allen and Cook. You're like, no, Harris and Murray.
Right.
And you're like, oh, okay. Give teams something to try to plan for now.
Right. Yeah, Latavius Murray in the red zone is fun. Right, because he's very patient, and I don't know if it's just the fact that he's so tall, right? Because he's a very upright runner, but it's just when he sees it and goes, it's just fun to watch, right?
It is.
I wasn't sure if Latavius Murray was even going to make this football team. I should have known better because he's the oldest running back in the NFL. So of course, why wouldn't he make this team?
Well, at the time when he got signed, it was Hines. Hines is still available, and now he's not. So, but the one play, I think it was early. I think it might have been in the first quarter, maybe the second. Murray had like it was a 2nd and 3, 3rd and 3 call or something like that, and he just pounded it in there and got the first down. And I said to myself, I said, listen, that's what they got him for. Allen would have been running that last year.
Absolutely would have been.
Yep. And then you take the burden off of Allen. Listen, you don't have to do everything. We have playmakers now. You don't have to do everything yourself.
Yeah. And again, kudos to James Cook, who had almost as many all-purpose yards as Jimmy Garoppolo had throwing yards today.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy? Like, Garoppolo, I think, had 185. And if just on the quick math, James Cook, 123 on the ground plus 36 in the air. Yeah. Yeah, almost did it. Almost did it. Yeah, almost did it. 159. That and Garoppolo was 185 through the air.
So Garn comes in. He says, Bills 3 running backs combined for 226 yards from scrimmage today. I don't remember that for a long. Yeah, I don't remember 2 running backs doing that for a long time.
And again, you look at Josh, right? How many rushing yards did Josh have today? 7.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Put that in the holster in case of emergency. Break glass.
Right.
If Allen needs to run.
Well, again, the only times you saw that were 4th down, right? He ran once on 4th down, and I think the others were just doing what he had to do to stay alive. You know, the design Josh Allen runs out of the playbook. And boy, let me just tell you how happy I was that the moment Hyde was a little banged up, we didn't see Hyde anymore. That was it.
Nope.
The moment Floyd was banged up, we didn't see him anymore, right?
No.
Just let's not be stupid. Let's not be stupid with these players. I think there were times last year where guys got hurt in games that you're like, what the hell are you even out there for? Isn't that the game Hyde got hurt his neck in a game that you're looking at it like, yeah,
you were up like 30-3 at that point,
right? It was like, what? Why is he even on the field at this point?
Yeah.
So I think they learned their lesson a little bit. So it was nice to see them pull those guys and get some playing time for Cam Lewis and Taylor Rapp. And
we saw less of Rapp today. It was a little bit different game plan.
Yep.
A
lot of Teron Johnson today. A lot of Teron. Teron was out there a lot.
But I just want to say real quick, because I put this up a second ago, this kind of negativity will not be tolerated here on hashtag. This is almost as close as Dane Jackson slander, who had a forced fumble today.
Sure did.
Good old Dane coming back.
Sure did. Yeah. Mario's got that we used to run a fantasy football league called the Thunderdome. It was 20 teams, and ever since Mario started wearing backwards caps, we can't have the Thunderdome anymore because that's what the space in the hat looks like. It's the Thunderdome.
So much
Look at that thing.
negativity. I mean, they win, and you gotta be negative. I don't understand. No, but it's looking over the defense. Obviously, Rapp played a little bit. I didn't like it on that first drive. It seemed like there was still like miscommunication with the defense. I mean, they settled it down. Obviously, well, we didn't see the defense very much today, but and the times that they were on the field,
not in the second half.
No, we didn't
much in the second half.
It bothers me when they're turning their heads and they're pointing and guys aren't in position. That's when you have a lot of trouble and miscommunication on the defense because teams can score on you so quick.
Right.
Thank you to Carl for a $2 donation. Harris was 7 for 33, but was 8 for 74, adding in the special teams return. Yes. Yes. Get the ball in the hands of guys other than Allen, and
they're all NFL. Yeah, they're all NFL talent, right? They're all NFL level talent. And again, when you allow the other team to only run 13 plays in the second half, that's absurd. That like a lot of positive things are going to happen for you. But looking at the first half defense, right? The Bills generated, some interceptions from the linebackers, which I guess shouldn't be a surprise because these guys are just really big free safeties, right? Milano mossed. What an interception that was. He's such a dog, man. I just love Matt Milano.
He's amazing. He really is amazing. He's starting to come into his own and everything. All pro last year. But you start to think about it this way. Look at, so Bernard gets his first pick. I don't know. Is this his first pick of his career? Was that his first pick?
I think it should be.
Well, he gets a pick drafted by Brandon Beane. Matt Milano was taken by Whaley Staff, so we'll give him a pass on that one. But you talk about James Cook. You talk about, you want to talk about Allen. You want to talk about all these other guys. You want to talk about Murray and Harris, acquired free agents. So I think this for at least another week puts to bed. We should have drafted this guy. We should have drafted that guy. We should, when all these guys don't have performances that the fans expect, they always like to blame the GM for certain things like that. And I understand that. I mean, we could talk all day about the Bills had a chance to get Justin Jefferson and Patrick Mahomes, and they didn't. But nobody talks about it. You know why? Because Allen and Diggs are doing good.
Yeah,
so
fine.
So stop. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's just for another week. I was just I saw some of that stuff last week with, look at this player on this team that Bean didn't get. Look at this player that he didn't draft here. I'm like, enough.
Well, stop. And Mar, you brought up something earlier in the stream where you said this game is going to throw a lot of the statistics to waste, right? Because again, the time of possession super off. Because the Bills had the ball for 40 minutes in this game, which is again just completely absurd. Yeah. But when you look at the defensive stats, only 2 QB hits according to ESPN. Again, those stats could change, but the only QB hits are Daquan Jones and Ed Oliver, right?
Yeah.
No sacks. Yet we talk about how good the Bills defense played. I didn't feel like Garoppolo had much time today at all. And that offense, he doesn't need a lot of time in the pocket. But he was running for his life back there most of the time because again, no run game to support him.
No. And we have talked many times, if you guys want to go back in the Wayback Machine, as far as when you have a Sean McDermott led defense, he's calling the plays now. He loves to generate pressure with that front four or odd man fronts or come off the edge with a linebacker or a corner or something like that. And let the guys that are behind him make the splash play, make the play of the interception or the fumble recovery or anything else like that. So while they're not technically getting those statistics of sacks and quarterback hits and all other stuff, they are disrupting the flow of the play, which then gets your offense back on the field. And what are you laughing at? I don't know.
Don't worry about what I'm laughing at.
Oh my God, what happened? Let me see.
It's fine. No, thinking atheist, I'll put it back up on the chat. He's like, Matt Milano took Jacob's lunch and ate it in front of him. That's what made me laugh. Yeah, that's what made me laugh.
Hilarious.
And Darno Frack, Matt Milano on pace for 17 interceptions this year. Sean McDermott clap. Give a little Sean McDermott clap.
Let's go. Let's get it. Yeah, and what did it say? I saw a number somewhere. Someone put a number up there.
That was talking about likes.
Yes.
90 plus people watching. And
guys, hit that like button. It tells YouTube this is a good channel and people should watch it. So, help us out a little bit. Hey, Daniel Gary's here finally.
So ultimately, that first Bills drive, 15 plays. So of today, the Bills had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 drives. Well, 9 to end the game, I guess. Right? I think
Just
half of
8.
them were 8 or more plays.
Yeah, 11, 15, 8, 7, 11, and 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that was 7 was turnover on downs at the 1 or whatever.
Right.
You kick a field goal there?
You know what? I look at it this way. I don't think you were too worried about them running the football, right? Like you knew you were going to stop them, and you know they're not going to go 94 on you, right? Like they're not going to run the field on you. It doesn't bother me that they didn't go for it, or they didn't kick the field goal. I'm fine playing. The analytics say you go for it there.
Okay.
The analytics say you go for it, and that doesn't bother me. I'm okay with that. I know you don't like the fact that the Bills they rolled out the field goal unit and then they called a timeout and the offense came back on the field in the third quarter. I know you weren't the biggest fan of that because it was early in the third quarter.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan. No, I would no, but here's the way I think about it. So you're going down there. They just scored on their opening possession. It is a 14-10 game, I believe, at that point. And it's under 3 minutes left to go in the quarter. You're getting the ball back at halftime. So you got a chance to double them up, but you didn't want to give them a chance to throw on your defense. You know what I mean? With down 7. If you give up 7 there, then you're tied. So you just wanted to say, you were saying that you were feeling out the game as it had been played to that point, and you were saying, listen, let's just back them up, because prior to that they had a 10-play drive for a field goal.
Yep.
So you're okay, they could still put a sustained drive together, and they had the ball for a little bit. But I think percentage wise, I'm going to err on the side of caution all the time. I'm going to say take 3 there, kick off to them. They have less than 2 minutes. I think they might have had 2 or 3 timeouts at the time. And
but I think they had their finger on the pulse there, because really, if you look at the entire rest of the game, which again, I think this is really, really funny. So the Bills turned that ball over on downs. It was 14-10 at the time. Obviously the Raiders were buried. They went 3 and out there. Buffalo scores a touchdown to come back. They run 2 plays to end the first half. And then again, they run 13 plays. So from the point that you turn the ball over, right, they ran 18 plays total the rest of the game from you turning it over on downs down near the goal line. They ran 18 plays the rest of the game. They had their finger on the pulse, man. That's what I mean, right? Like,
well, yeah,
I'm willing to trust the analytics. And again, I think that Raiders team knew that Buffalo was going to sell out to the run, so it was real easy for them to script some misdirection. But once they got off script, there was just nothing they were going to be able to do to stop this Bills defense. Right? That defense just gave that offense as many opportunities as they could handle. And I think it's going to take people a long time to get used to this, not pushing the ball aggressively down the field thing. Maybe last week was a slap in the face, like, hey, it's not what we're trying to do, right? We're not trying to push the ball downfield. But Mario, you and I used to talk about this all the time. Those New England teams, so they'd come out and they'd throw 55 passes all over the field, all within 10 yards. And then the next game, they'd run the ball 46 times, right? And throw the ball 22. And they've been effective for decades doing that. I mean, obviously not recently, but they were effective for decades doing that. And you have to look at what the intent of this Bills offense is if everything is short, you have to imagine that's a short-term goal right now. This isn't the long-term offense. It's going to evolve over the season. It's going to change. This isn't the forever, right? So folks are getting impatient or concerned or nervous. This isn't the forever. But I think there's also a point of you beat this team by 28 points. Like you don't need to put anything on film that's going to hurt you in the coming weeks.
No, but they did do something eerily similar to what the New England Patriots have done for so many years, is that when they get a big enough lead, they start putting in plays and running certain plays that just to have the other team scout. And because you're going to waste valuable practice time scouting against that play. They use multiple formations. They did multiple plays. They did a couple things here and there. That fourth down play, though, if we just go back to that for a second, that was an ugly play, like from start to finish. Like Hardy falls down. I think it was supposed to be a swing to him, to be honest with you, and just have him race to the corner. I think that was one of the things they were going to have happen. But some of the stuff that you laugh at me about as far as the timeouts go, you know what I mean? Like, okay, it worked out for Buffalo today. But there are certain teams that you play on your schedule, especially in the playoffs, that you can't have those types of mishaps because you're starting to develop certain habits. Okay. All right. You have to be in the ear of Dorsey and say, listen, all right, you got 4 downs here. All right. So call your plays, how you're going to call them. Do it. It's so frustrating to me because I see it across the whole NFL. But more specifically, when I see it with the Bills, I get even more upset about it. Is the fact is you have to let your OC know we're in 4-down territory now. Okay. So plan your plays accordingly. We don't want to burn a timeout here. We don't want to do this, that, and the third. Okay. So when you're sitting there and you go on a 3rd down play and you're sitting there and the clock goes down, you call a timeout. Oh, this is great. And then the next play you run, it's like, that's what you call the timeout for? Was that? I mean, I don't want to bring up the 3rd and 17 with the false start, the 3rd and 22 timeout. I don't want to bring that up. That does make me mad. But it's one of those things. I'm just like, come on, you got to be better than that.
Right. In a tight game, you can't make those mistakes. I agree with you there, right? In a tight game, you need those timeouts. Here, it didn't really matter too much, but it is something to be aware of that, clock management, again, on the offensive side of the football, not marvelous. Right. That timeout management, just not marvelous. I do think that the Bills needed a game where they put up a lot of ground yardage. Spin brings up a great point. He says, you got to get out of these 2 safety looks. This team is going to have trouble pushing the ball down the field when you're looking at 2 safeties the whole game. Right. It's the nature of NFL schemes. When you're running 2 safeties, you're probably running cover 2. Cover 2 is really tough. It's real tough for Allen. He's often struggled with cover 2. That's how you would play him. But you got to be able to run the football to get more looks away from those 2 safeties deep, because you can't really push the football down the field with 2 safeties. It's just teams run it a lot because it's effective at stopping that. But you got to get out of 2 safety looks. And you have a game where you put up 120 plus on the ground. Like at some point, teams are going to have to respect the fact that you're just going to run the football against them.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely adds an element to your offense that wasn't there before. And with some of these games like this, I mean, they're necessary for you to have those drives. I mean, Garn even comes in and he says, listen, stuff they're putting on film for offense is not what we're used to seeing. It's uncomfortable to watch the 2 or 3 yards, the runs, the short passes, but it's more efficient. But the other thing that's doing is that you're playing complementary football. Your defense isn't on the field all the time and getting gassed all the time. I mean, and the Buffalo Bills will, they're going to Washington next week, which another reason I like that Von's on the pup, because that field has claimed so many souls over the years. I just want to escape injury free out of that game.
Yeah.
I think the Bills will get the dub, but I want to escape injury free out of that game because that field is atrocious. Still. But
in my opinion, it's the worst field in the NFL, right? Like it's
100%.
Yeah, it's the worst field in the NFL.
It was like remember Veterans Stadium in the 80s and 90s? That's what it is. It's horrible. But going back to what we were talking about before with these long sustained drives, high percentage passing, all that other stuff. Did today kind of sent worry to the rest of the NFL? Because we saw from week 1, Allen can't help himself. He's got to go deep. He has to do a big play. He's got to jump over somebody or whatever. Did today kind of worry the rest of the NFL, the fact that he did do it and he was patient enough to just take what was given to him? Or are people still kind of on the fence about Allen?
I don't think one game changes a reputation like that, right?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, like Allen's completion percentage was 77% on the season now. Is that what it is? Or was that today, Mark?
This season he's 77%. Today was like 80.
Yeah.
It was stupid.
But it's air yards per attempt way down. But again, we talked about this with Patty Mahomes, right? You win a Super Bowl, and his air yards per attempt were half of what they were the season before, right?
For the touchdowns?
Doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Just as long as the offense is moving the football and getting first downs, then that it's going to allow this defense to continue to be aggressive. And that's the secret sauce. This defense has to be generating turnovers. They're going to give up points. It is going to happen. And this offense just needs to be able to score on 65% of their drives in some form or fashion. If Buffalo could score on 65% of their drives this year, they will win a vast majority of the games that they play the rest of the season.
Yeah, the fact that they were able to turn turnovers into points today, I think bodes well for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The fact that they were able to, okay, you're going to give us the ball? Okay, we're going to take advantage of this. So let's go.
Right.
And that's it's amazing how night and day both those games are. And then you start to think about it this way. The way that the NFL is set up, the passing league, as we talked about, and everything else, the defense only gave up 16 and 10 points in 2 games.
I know.
I mean, that's
right.
That's pretty darn. You gave up 1 touchdown a game. That's pretty amazing.
Right.
Once again, things that will skew statistics because they're not going to always have games like that.
No.
You know, I think week 4 when they play the Dolphins, that might get Dolphins might score 28 on them. I mean, as good as their defense is, that Dolphins offense is pretty damn scary. So
Buffalo doesn't do the misdirection game real well, right?
No.
And that Miami offense is going to give you all you can handle there. Like that the book is out on the Bills defense, right? Is that you can get them with misdirection pretty hard.
Yeah.
But again, this is a more aggressive Bills defense than we've seen. And we've seen just as many plays snuffed out in the backfield this year as I felt we saw almost all last season.
Yeah.
You know, like the Bills made a lot of plays on the line of scrimmage last year, but this year I really feel like they're in the backfield the whole game. The stats don't say that, right? The stats don't say that yet. But the pressure percentage just feels way up. It's a totally different feel. And we don't even have Von Miller back yet.
I know. Yeah, that's the thing that's crazy is that this defense is doing what they're doing. Obviously, we'll have to monitor the Micah Hyde and Leonard Floyd injuries. They both came out of the game. But this is a game you could see Dorsey going, listen, remember what we did against the Raiders? If we want to beat the Dolphins, we have to hold the ball because then they can't score. So let's try to do the same thing. Let's have the short intermediate passes. I'd like to think that the front 4 collectively for the Dolphins is better than the Raiders. So it will provide some trouble in the run game.
Right.
I don't know if the run game is going to get off the ground, but I mean, obviously that's 2 weeks ahead. I'm just looking ahead, guys. You know, because what we've seen today out of Josh Allen, this offense we haven't seen before. So it's something that we all have to kind of talk about. We have to go through it. But I like this approach where Hero Josh, or what someone calls him, Sugar High Josh,
Sugar Rush
Josh.
Yeah.
Put him. You know, he'll be there for certain plays that you need him to make. I think that is where the transition is coming in. And if he has more games like this where he's like, listen, all right, I don't have to be a hero for us to win. I just need to be, efficient. Okay, let's go. I mean, Brady did it for years. He literally did it for years. He's like, he had a 7-yard passing tree and they won 6 Super Bowls. So
Well, and I think there's a point where young quarterbacks feel like they have to win the game in every, on every single play. Yeah. And you just have to win the play. That's it. Just win the play. Be positive that play. That's your goal as a quarterback is win the play. That's it. You can't put, 3 plays behind, what happened 3 plays ago. That can't be on your mind anymore. Just keep winning the play, keep getting positive yardage. More good things will happen to you than bad when you can just continue to win the play. And that's, his level of compete is out of this world. And that's been a detriment to him. Today, I hope he learns some patience, right?
Survive to play another day, man. Like that's the thing.
Yeah, think of how good his body's going to feel after this game compared to what he put himself through last year, right? He took significantly less beating today.
Paul, he's 27. He doesn't feel anything. We know this.
Oh, stop. Stop.
He feels nothing.
I do want to point out during the broadcast, they did say something that I think is misleading about Josh Allen. They say that prior to today, Josh Allen was 21-4 in games where he didn't have a turnover, and then he threw the ball immediately to the other team, like 2 plays later.
They always do that.
Yeah, that was called back for a really, really crappy illegal hands to the face penalty. It wasn't a penalty. It was
ticky-tack. No.
It's that.
If I was a Raiders fan, I would be upset about that.
I'd be pretty upset about that too.
But that wasn't changing the game at all. I'm just
no. It wouldn't have. But I want to just point out the fact that in Josh's career, today was only the 20th game where he hasn't thrown an interception. I really just want you to think about that for a second. And within the construct of that, in the games where he's thrown 0 interceptions, in those games during his career, he fumbled the ball 31 times. So it is just one of those circumstances where, Josh turns the ball over at a far and away percentage versus games that he doesn't. And that's just the risk that you run with Josh. But today was truthfully, I think, only the 19th game in his career where he didn't throw an interception or didn't fumble the ball, not lose the fumble, just generally fumble the football.
19 out of 79 games he's played?
79.
Well, and that's is that this live by the sword, die by the sword type deal?
Yeah,
where you're like, but if you think
pretty
about
big sword.
No, but this is so great that it's happening to this team, because you remember there was a guy named Tyrod Taylor that would never turn the ball over.
Yeah,
but would have the most 3-and-outs in NFL history.
Exactly.
But so that's the risk you run. I mean, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Tyrod didn't turn the ball over. Yeah, the Bills lost 17-10. Like, it was awful. Yeah. Carl coming back in with another in the super chat. To protect Micah's hammy, do we see DeMar in Washington? Ooh, that's a good one.
DeMar's been inactive.
He's been inactive, but I think either way, it's going to be the Taylor Rapp show. If either Hyde or Poyer go down, it's the Taylor Rapp show. Right?
Yeah, DeMar wouldn't start. I agree.
But then they have Cam Lewis back there, who was active. Yeah. So I don't think DeMar would start. They may activate him. I don't know.
Well, Cam gives him that flexibility because he can play corner. They transitioned him to safety late last year. So he does give you that flexibility. If you run into an injury, 2 corners come up lame during the game, like he can fly and slide in anywhere. So that's primarily why he's active. Do I think Cam Lewis is a better safety than DeMar? No, but Cam Lewis could play corner and DeMar doesn't. So it's just that roster flexibility, game day flexibility. Do we see DeMar? I don't know if we'll really see him much. If we do see him, I would imagine they'd have him active for a home game if we don't see him through the first part of the season. At some point, they're going to activate him. Right?
Yeah,
at some point, they're going to dress him. At some point, they're going to have to dress him.
Poyer looks slow today.
Yeah.
Poyer looks slow. Yeah, when they mentioned that both him and Hyde are 32, I was like,
yeah. Sure. Yep. Yeah. And Poyer seems to be gaining gear. Like, it looks like every game he's got another piece of bionic gear on, and he's slowly just morphing into RoboCop is what I'm thinking. He's every game he looks more and more like Jose Canseco to me, just with gear on top of gear on top of gear.
He looks like he doesn't have a neck anymore. Like, at this point, he really doesn't. I see it's like head and shoulders. That's all it is.
Yeah. What did you think of the defensive line today, Mar? Like, the interior defensive line. This Bills team seems to love to have defensive tackles, but between Tim Settle, Daquan Jones, Ed Oliver, like, you're paying a lot of money to defensive tackles, and you're paying a lot of money to defensive tackles to still blitz.
Yeah.
Right. So what did you think of, the Bills' interior defensive front today? I know that Josh Jacobs ran for negative yardage, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those guys did a great job.
Are you okay?
I'm just asking your opinion. I really just want you to praise Ed Oliver to piss Joe off. That's really the angle I'm taking here.
Yeah. Well, Bernard had 9 tackles and a pass defended. Milano had 7 tackles and a pick. And you start to look at that, because that's what I always like to do first. If you're not going to be able to watch the game, that's the one thing that you could take from the stat sheet if you want to take a look at that. All right, did the defensive tackles have a lot of tackles? No, they didn't. They created disruption. They let others shine as far as what they were doing, because they were eating bodies up. You held last year's leading rusher to negative 2 yards.
Yeah.
So you essentially in there, it's not going to show up in the stat sheet. You control the flow of the game as the front four by doing that. So did they have a great game? Yeah, they earned their paychecks today because they were able to control that entire front, with the exception of an opening drive where, Trey White had trouble with Devontae Adams, but then again, everyone does in the league. Devontae's amazing. So He had a little trouble with him. They score. Then they score 3 points the rest of the game, and they don't even get them many plays to run. So with the offense, that's what I was saying about complementary football. With the offense holding the ball so much, those guys on the defensive front are fresher to come in and cause a disruption the way they were. And one of those guys, obviously being Ed Oliver, played a hell of a game today. So sorry, Joe.
That's okay.
I mean, the guy had 5 tackles as a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
You usually don't see those.
Nope. So I do want to point out Paul Berg, Epineza is trash. That first series, man. The Raiders' leading rusher was a wide receiver, and that was solely AJ Epinesa's fault, in my personal opinion. And I don't remember seeing much AJ Epinesa after that.
He had the one pass defended, and that was it. I didn't see him the rest of the game.
Yeah.
I'm
so ready for his contract to expire, guys. I'm so ready for his contract.
Do you think he gets traded at the deadline?
No.
When you get Vaughn back?
No, you can't trade free, Mario.
What?
You can't trade free. He would be free. Like, he is the buy one get one. Like, he's not. No, AJ Epineza has absolutely no value in the trade market, man. Zero, absolutely no value.
Hey, listen, I ask these questions for everybody else as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Because people will say, "Can we trade Epineza when Vaughn comes back?" And what's going to happen. It's going to come up. Can we get anything for him? Can we get like a 5th? No. You can't.
No, if you call a team to trade AJ Epineza, they're going to ask you what are they giving? What else are you giving us to take AJ Epineza?
Are you giving us Epineza and one of your 6th for like a 5th?
Right.
That's really what it would be. That's essentially what it would be. So,
I was good with Terrell Bernard today, Mario. But again, Matt Milano covers up so much, man.
He can't do that though. He can't always do that for you. But we really had a limited sample size of stuff to say. I mean, when you talk about what was it, Spillane and Diablo combined for, let me see, 30.
That's disgusting.
39 tackles. Is that right? Is that my number right?
Let me double check your math on that, because that doesn't feel right. Oh no, that feels right.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I went with total. They had 24. They had 24 total tackles between both of them.
Still,
but that's insane. That is insane. I think if we're things to look, let's talk about things to look forward to for next week for Washington. Sure. We can do this really quick. Those of you that are in here, thank you for liking the video and subscribing. Make sure you turn that red subscribe button gray. I don't know, is it red and gray still? I can't remember. Anyway, point is, like to thank our host, our sponsor, Mr. Rogers Homes. But looking forward to Washington, do you see anybody having a bigger role than they did today, or someone's role that was big today have a smaller role? Or do you just throw the same game plan into Washington, because their front is pretty scary?
Yeah, and they also have quarterback issues there, right? Sam Howell's their QB. Like, I think you're cut, copy, paste here. I don't really see the Washington game being too much different. I mean, Terry McLaurin is a wild threat, but I don't think you can even get the ball to him. They've got a better tight end play in Logan Thomas, former Buffalo Bill.
Remember him?
He's a better tight end than Austin Hooper. And I'm not a big fan of Brian Robinson, their running back. Antonio Gibson is a guy who's just got all this talent, but will just never be a complete NFL back. So that team is offensively just in complete shambles. They're just piecing it together. So, do I see a similar tactic of Buffalo of, listen, let's just get up 2 scores and sit on it? Yeah, probably. I would expect to see a very similar approach, because there's absolutely no reason to beat the hell out of yourself the first few weeks of the season, right? It's a long season, and these are the games you were supposed to win. You were supposed to beat the Jets. You were supposed to beat the Raiders. You're supposed to beat the Commanders, and then you're supposed to walk into Miami 3-0. Yeah. Like, that's what you were supposed to do. You're not there anymore, but that doesn't make the Commanders any more daring a task. That team doesn't. This game doesn't scare me at all. The downside is, I do worry a little bit about Buffalo looking a little down the road to Miami. That's always the concern, right? But we'll see. That Washington pass rush was really good, but then Montez Sweat left, and
They had 4 first rounders on that line.
I know.
They were trying to mimic the Niners.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were trying to do all that stuff. Why is Kirksey still out? Is it because he's learning this defense? Yeah, I think so. I think that's what it is. I think, you know that McDermott and Bean, especially McDermott, will give guys that are incumbents, basically, because Bernard was here. He has, a full year of learning this defense.
Right.
And doing a bunch of things. He's going to give him every opportunity. It's like a Levi Wallace. It's like a Dane Jackson. He's going to give him every opportunity to play and start, and until he's not doesn't feel that he's the best option for the team. And that's why I think like Kirksey still once Kirksey will, these not he could be active for Washington. He could be active for let me go over the schedule a little bit. So because they have Washington, Miami, and then Jacksonville. And probably the Giants game is when you see him. I think week 5, week 6 is the way it would be the way to go. You could see him earlier. You definitely could see him earlier, but I think week 6 would be the time that he would have everything under his belt, and you would get a full gamut, past a quarter of the year to see what Bernard has. So then,
it's Bills fan 7883 official OG to hashtag sports, and he's right. Bernard got stuck in run fill. Like that's really when he wasn't very good that week 1. Was in the run game. His vision wasn't great. He was filling the wrong holes. He wasn't moving protection the way they should. He wasn't moving the linebackers the way that he should have. Today, completely opposite story, right? Like Terrell Bernard is a very good coverage linebacker, and in this league, they throw the ball 40 times a game. So, at some point, you have to take the fact that Bernard's not great in the run game, and you're just going to have to swallow that because Christian Kirksey is a phenomenal football player over the course of his NFL career. Yeah. But how does that help you next year? Right? Getting Bernard playing time right now is the most important thing. This is the easier part of your schedule for the most part. Why not get him that opportunity to play now? And then you kind of figure it out as you go, right? The last 2 years, the linebacker group hasn't been healthy. They have not had a full season where Milano and Edmonds play next to each other every game for the last 2 years, right? So at some point, the numbers tell you that Bernard's going to have to sit down sometime.
Yeah.
The numbers just tell you that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's one of those things where it can affect the entire roster. They're like, hey, he brought this guy in. This guy's been learning the shot, learning the ropes, and it sends a message to some future draft picks as well that you have. Because more and more, the way Josh Allen's contract is set up, and some of these, Diggs and all these other guys, mostly Allen, you have to hit with your draft picks. Yep. And when you draft a guy, they have to, job security in the NFL is it's a different animal. So if you're sitting there going, hey, they drafted me in the 3rd round, but last year they drafted the 3rd round and they brought in a free agent off the street to start for him. Like, even though I was in camp busting my tail trying to do all this other stuff, they just start. So it sends a shockwave through your team. So you got to be very, very careful about that.
I'm really less concerned about Christian Kirksey and more concerned about Kaiir Elam, because I think by continuing to have him inactive on game day, football players don't dig that. Right. Especially a player that had the expectation that he was going to play. Not that he wasn't working, but I think this is something that will either drive him to excel at some point. Right. Probably clearly not now. This will either drive him to excel, or he won't. You really won't see him in a Bills uniform much longer. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Again, the talent tells you he's got NFL talent. There's no doubt about that. But hopefully this is an opportunity for him to, again, learn, process, grow, and absolutely take somebody's head off when he gets the opportunity to play. Yeah.
Yeah. As far as Kirksey goes, is he hasn't played full seasons. That's another thing that they could be doing.
Right.
Knowing that this is a marathon, not a sprint, bringing him in for 11 weeks, he can do that.
Right. Right. There's no benefit to rolling them out against 3 teams that you think you should beat.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. You give Bernard those snaps and you let him learn. Yeah. 100% agree with you. 100% agree.
Well, Paul, is it time to wrap up this wonderful post game that we have?
Yeah.
It's nice coming in here after a Bills win. Guys, it's really hot in my house, so that's why there's no goofy hat for the win. But I will get my clock out because, as we've said multiple times over the years, when the Bills win, we roast. And I can't wait to see some of these freaking things coming in.
Yeah, 93 people in the chat. For those of you who are new, you could just keep an eye on the chat, and
Yeah.
you'll catch on pretty quick.
Yeah, you'll catch on.
You'll catch on pretty quick.
So what are we doing? 13 seconds? No, I'm just kidding. All right, you guys are gonna roast me. I'm gonna get you first. All right, so I got 2.5 minutes on the clock. You guys could roast whoever you want. Put some funny things up there. Do whatever you want. Roast me or Paul. Roast the team. Roast the Raiders. Mostly the Raiders. But yeah, all right. We're gonna start it off.
Mario's the type of guy to volunteer to be a mall Santa for free. You do have that salt and pepper beard. You could probably get that thing pretty bushy by the time Christmas rolls around, Marv.
I had 2 students of mine in like almost in succession. One kid goes, "You look like a gym teacher," and then the second one goes, "Why do you look like John Wick?" I'm like, "What? How does that even go?"
Yeah, Mommy, why does Santa smell like bourbon and shame?
He works for hashtag. That's why.
Oh, thank you. So thank you, Paul, for taking time away from being the head coach of the Colts. Nice to see you here.
That is a great one.
Now, just for the record, guys, I would have gotten a haircut forever ago, but I have 2 big shows in October and November, one in Rochester, one in Buffalo, and it's a 90s grunge that I can't cut my hair right now. So I got to live the disheveled homeless look for a little bit longer. It's till about Christmas.
Jesus, Buffalo Mafia nervous. Goes day drinking near UB and hits on college girls. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. What's this one? This is the guy that talks about how good he was in high school.
When he watches.
Oh my God.
I've said it and I'll say it again. Mario throws the heaviest football I've ever caught in my life. Feels like a medicine ball coming at you.
Paul's the type of guy to buy height adding shoes so his wife doesn't look taller than him.
I am 6 feet tall, guys. I am not a little person. I know it's hard to tell, right? Alex Aguilar, when you order Aaron Rodgers wish.
I said, put the bunny back in the box.
Sometimes doing this show, it's like he just came out of a cave.
It's for a role.
The older I get, and those girls still stay the same age.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, I know that one. The famous George Carlin one. Like guys over the years, 10 years of age, who wear their hats backwards. Come on, man.
It's got to be a fitted hat, Mario. It's got to be a fitted hat. Was the body of Leo in Titanic a 12-year-old?
Oh my God, you guys are brutal.
Yeah.
I kept seeing you when they were flashing the Dorsey up in the booth today.
Ken Dorsey looks like he could be my dad. I'm not gonna lie about that. Looks like 2 dudes who go bike riding together to a bar and order IPAs. I'm sorry. Let's just get the record straight here. IPAs are just liquid sand. They taste like sand.
Yes.
There's nothing good about it. Anybody who tells you they enjoy an IPA, no. Do not trust that person. Do not trust that person.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm not a IPA guy. That was so crazy. All right. Hashtag Nation Bills Mafia. Thank you for joining us for our post-game hashtag sports presentation of the Bills versus the Raiders. A successful 38-10 victory for the Buffalo Bills. We will be back sometime this week. We don't know when. So that's why you guys got to hit that like and subscribe button, hit the notification bell. So for Paul, I'm Mario. We're out of here, guys.
Hey, new video from Sean.
Woo! I want to see it.
Thank you, Paul, as well as the rest of the Hashtag Sports crew. It's an honor being a sponsor. I'll make this quick so we can get back to listening to facts and figures about our beloved Buffalo Bills. Investing in real estate, especially in the Phoenix metro area, may change your financial picture forever. And it's easier than you may think. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, and proud of it. Yet I live in the Valley of the Sun, have for decades, and love it. I also humbly run one of the top real estate teams in Arizona. We help others score, as it were, when it comes to buying, selling, renting, and of course, investing in real estate. If you're interested, reach out to me. We'll have a confidential, no obligation question and answer conversation. You have absolutely nothing to lose, possibly everything to gain. The sky's the limit. Although visiting the 48th state as well as your investment property when the snow is flying in the 716 is a game changer, as well as a tax write-off, you actually never have to make the trip. The system my team and I have in place can do most everything for you. All I ask, other than you subscribing to my YouTube channel, Paul, give him the link, is a few minutes of your time, which may alter your life positively forever. I've been a multi-million-dollar producer for many years, and the Mr. Rogers Homes Arizona real estate team has earned the top spot at West USA Realty for 10 years plus. Again, thank you, #sports, go Bills, and God bless America.